What's up guys, it's Austin here with another Saturday Snake School video, and before we get into that, huge shout out to B&S Reptilia. Really great guy Chris, go and check him out. And you know what, we're gonna do a double shout out just because we got 212 exotics, go and check them out as well. Both great guys. Let's get straight into this video. Today we're talking about husbandry for ball pythons, whether you have them inside of a tub or inside of a tank. We'll get to everything. We're gonna have some really cool tips for you, and we're gonna just cover most of the basics so that your ball pythons can thrive. So the first thing we're gonna touch up on is temperatures, and there's two different temperatures you have to be aware of. It's the ambient temperature and then the hot spot temperature. And if you have a rack like this, you're gonna have a heat pad or heat tape at the very back, and that's where you're getting the heat element for the hot spot. And the hot spot you're going to want to keep around 90 degrees to 93 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 32 or 33 degrees Celsius. And then the second temperature you have to be aware of is the ambient, and the ambient is the temperature of the room. And I know a lot of people don't like it too hot in their house or in their basement. It can't get too hot. Reptiles need heat because they're cold-blooded, especially the snakes, and you need to keep that around 76 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around 24 to 27 degrees Celsius. A little warmer than room temperature, but your reptiles need it and they love it. If you have a tank set up, all you gotta do is keep your room about 24 to 27 degrees Celsius, and then have it under the tank heater, and you're gonna wanna get a thermostat for that. We even have thermostats for these racks. Here we use the Herbstat thermostats. It's better for a rack system, but if you have something just like a tank, you can go on Amazon and pick up an Inkbird thermostat. They're fairly inexpensive and they work great for a single heat mat or even a few heat mats. So the second thing we're going to be touching up on is substrate, and we're only going to be going over the main three substrates people use, and I think that's going to be coconut husk, eco earth, and aspen bedding. All three are perfectly safe for your ball pythons. If you want to learn a little more about how we make our cocoa bedding, we made a video a couple weeks back. Go and check that out. And so right here you can see, like I said, we use coconut, and coconut's really good for having your ball pythons, giving them a lot of humidity, especially if you live in a colder place where it gets really dry inside of the winter. You're going to want to use something like coconut husk to go and keep that humidity up, so it ensures that your ball python or other snakes are shedding properly and thriving. It also helps a lot with the odors, so you're not getting too much of a smell inside of there, and it's also not that messy. You can see that depending on what company you use, some of them have more, but there's not a lot of dust at the bottom. It's a fairly good substrate, and oh, perfect. And like you can see here, you can see that she can go and thermoregulate, move the substrate out of the way if she needs to get more into that heat spot, or she can just lay on top of it if she wants to stay a little bit cooler, so it's really good for that. Then we have the eco earth. I don't have any of it here right now, but that's also very good for humidity. It's a little bit more messier than the coconut, and it does help with some odors, but not as good as the coconut does. Then we have aspen. Aspen is used in places where you have a higher humidity to actually help lower the humidity. It's a very dry bedding. It's good for ball pythons if you're in a place like Florida. You can still use coconut husk as well if you're having a little bit of dryness inside of your house. Maybe your dehumidifier is going too much. But I think aspen is better for the higher humidity, and then coconut for the lower humidity. And you can use the other eco earth pretty much if you want more for a tank setup to give it that cool natural look. But I recommend coconut husk. I think it's the best for the smell, for the price. Of course your ball python needs water. We're going to touch up on that. So looking over here, we just showed you the snake, and I noticed that she's in shed, and we haven't changed the water in this room in a day or two, and generally you're going to want to change it every 2 to 5 days. And what I like to do, especially when you see a snake in shed, is just pour all the water left inside of the cup onto the hot side, just to ensure that your snake is getting a lot more humidity. All the water will be absorbed into the coconut husk, and it'll be very good. All the water will be absorbed into the coconut husk, and it just helps the snake shed that much more easier. You're not going to have any stuck shed or anything like that. And a lot of people are wondering if they can use normal tap water for their snake, and it's perfectly fine for them. If you want to go use distilled water, you can as well. I just don't think distilled water is that healthy for them. There's a lot of studies that show that distilled water has no minerals or nothing else in it. Animals and humans need those minerals to survive. So it's up to you what you want to use, but I think normal water is fine. Humidity is also a big factor in the husbandry of your ball pythons, and they need around 40 to 60% humidity on an average day. And when they go into shed, they need even more humidity. You guys saw me just pour the water on this girl's cage, and that's going to raise the humidity substantially. It's going to raise it to about 70 to 80%. And I find that's the sweet spot on how to get your ball python to shed. And we're going to make a video on how to tell your ball python is in shed in the future. But if you don't want to go and dump the water and you want to raise the humidity throughout your whole room, you can either get a humidifier or get yourself a mister like this. You can find these anywhere. Home Depot has them, any garden center. And all you do is fill it up with water, pump it a few times, and you just want to go and open up a tub and just mist around. Generally, you want to do it on the hot side. That's where the heat and the water together will go and mix and create the humidity. And if you really want to, you can even go and mist the front. This will give you a little bit more longevity from your cocoa. It won't break down as fast, and your snake just has better sheds and a better quality of life. Making sure your ball python is in an appropriate size tub or tank is also a really good thing. And if you have a bigger tank for your ball pythons, you're going to want to put a lot of hides and decorations inside so your ball python can go and hide and feel safe. They don't like being in the open too much, hence why they go and live inside of burrows inside of Africa. So they're not spending too much time in the open, especially not in the light. And if you do have them in a tub, you want them to be able to curl up and not touch both sides of the tub. You see there's plenty of space for this snake to thermoregulate and even come to the front side if it wants to be on the cooler side. And you just want to make sure that it's not restricting any of the movements of the snake. And for other species of snakes other than ball pythons, you're going to need even more space because boas, retics, and even Burmese pythons, they like to move around a lot more than ball pythons do. Ball pythons tend to be kind of a pet rock compared to other snakes, but you're going to want a huge enclosure for them. But we're talking mostly about ball pythons today. But going back to the tanks, you don't need any lights for them at all. If you want to add some lights to illuminate so you're able to go and see where your ball python is, that's great. But keep in mind they need a lot of dark spaces to hide and feel secure. That's why I feel that a rack is the best for the snake. They're not getting that much light during the day. You can notice that we have some holes in here and some light is seeping through, but it's not too much, and they actually prefer being in the dark. So going back to eating, they only eat once a week. You could even stretch the feeding every 10 days or every 14 days. But if you're feeding every 14 days, I would say to give a little bit bigger of a prey size so that they can go and still have nutrition, have enough substance so they can last that next 14 days till they get fed again. That's pretty much going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Give us some more ideas down below in the comment section on what we could do for a Saturday snake school video, and stay tuned for more. Peace out.